This is the crank position sensor for a 2.3 liter Duratec engine. This engine is in a lot of Ford and Mazda products. This is just going to be how to locate the crank position sensor the correct way, the way the manual calls for. I'm sure other ways work. After you do the timing, there are other videos on how to do the mechanical timing for this engine. I'm not going to go into that. If you can find and easily get the timing tools for this engine, the correct tools, wonderful, do that. Me, I kind of had to get this job done. I need to be at work on Monday, and it's Friday. I managed to make what I feel are good timing tools for this engine, and I don't have every single one of them in right now, and I'm going to explain why. So first, my camshafts are located at top dead center on #1 piston compression stroke. You can tell because my intake lobes and my exhaust lobes are both pointed up and in towards the center, towards each other. And then you're supposed to have a 5mm plate that goes across the back sides of these camshafts, and there's a slot in the back of both camshafts, and when they're level with each other you can slide that plate in there, and that makes certain that the camshafts are in place. That is not to hold them, that is a verification. Well, that tool is really hard to find in the middle of a pandemic. These are two 5mm hex keys. Well, I need a 5mm plate. I have one 5mm hex key going across my intake camshaft, and it's resting on the mating surface for the valve cover, so I know that this camshaft is level with the valve cover surface. Another 5mm hex key, exhaust camshaft, same exact thing. Technically, could these be just half a degree out? Yeah, they could be. But in a pinch, I don't see anything wrong with doing this. I have both camshafts located relative to the valve cover. Those slid in nice and easy. I'm leaving them there for this crank position sensor. Alright, next. I don't really feel a need to put the timing pin back in the block of the engine because I know that my timing chain is connected to my crankshaft. My crankshaft pulley bolt is torqued down already to full torque. So I didn't put the pin back in the engine because, quite honestly, I already put some gasket sealer on the plug and it's already in. I didn't want to take it back out. But I did put my M6 bolt back into the bottom of my crankshaft pulley. So now I know my camshafts are located correctly and my crankshaft pulley is located correctly. And I already know my crankshaft is located correctly because it's connected by a metal chain to the crankshaft from the camshaft. So then, when you read the manual, it says, use the alignment tool to locate the position sensor. Thanks, Captain Obvious. This is the alignment tool that comes with a new position sensor, this separate tool here. You put it onto the flat side of the crank position sensor. So the way it is this part of the tool, you know, this whole thing slides onto the crank position sensor. This part of the tool is intended to slide over that 9th tooth, this slot right here that my fingers are touching. And then you need your bolts. A little bit of blue Loctite on your bolts. So then what you do is you can get a mirror, get whatever, take a picture, whatever you gotta do. You want to line up the center of the tool with the 9th tooth back here on the pulley. So if you start counting from the top, you can feel on the top and you'll feel a gap. Right here, this is at about the 11 o'clock position on the pulley, and you can actually feel a gap right there, and then you count down 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting teeth with my fingers. 5, 6, 7, 8, and the 9th one I can't feel actually because it's at the tool itself. But this is kind of, you know, cheap, flimsy plastic. Once you get the sensor on there, and I tightened the bolts down to where, like, they kind of had some tension, they'd hold it in place, but I could still slide it and position it if I wanted to. I could actually keep this on the tooth, and I could still slide it a little bit. You know, the plastic basically just bends a bit. So that's why you want to give it a little visual verification. A few tools I used were, I kind of felt it out, you know, just the tip of a long Q-tip, you know, that you use for like cleaning, just the wooden end. You know, just kind of felt the gap on both sides of the alignment tool to see if the teeth were lined up. And I also kind of gave it a little visual look with my mirror. Just kind of make sure that the plastic on this cheap tool isn't bending too much when you're lining it up. And I'll also allow it is magnetic a little bit because this is a Hall effect sensor. and I'll allow that to locate itself, and then I'll tighten down one of these bolts to make sure that it stays in place, and I'll tighten down the other one, and then I'll just eyeball that it's lined up. That's how you use this tool. That's how you install this sensor. And then when you're all done, don't forget to remove your camshaft aligning tool, your bolt in your pulley, and if you put your timing pin in, that as well. And that is how to actually put on the crank position sensor on the 2.3 liter dual overhead cam Duratec engine, in this case 2003 Ford Ranger. And for anybody worried that my approach to setting the timing is a bit cavalier, well, this is the second startup, so this isn't a surprise, but runs like a champ.